up, y'all? Today we are reacting to the Bloodline, a story of many arcs. It came out 5 days ago by Super Kick Studios. Like, if you seen like, you know, the last SmackDown, Jay switched. Jay said, "Hey, Jimmy, you out." I guess I'm out too. Baga, Baga, and then Solo came, Baga, and then they tried to walk away. Roman's like, "No, you can't do this to me. You can't do." Roman got up. I don't know how Roman just walked through to their feet, but they both said, "Baga," and walked out. They said, "Okay." If you like the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000. Let's get right into it. Y'all make sure y'all go subscribe to Super Kick Studios. And if nothing else needs to be said, let's get straight to it. Vibe. It's 15 minutes. Vibe. Because I ain't going to be pausing that much. I'm trying to see the story too.
You just had to make it about you. Couldn't let us get it, huh, Roman? You couldn't let us go through and take what was ours.
Why can't I be the one to provide for the family, Oos?
These two right here, they're my brothers.
When you're watching a movie, one of the most important things is to know.
Bro, it gives me chills hearing how, bro, Jay and Jimmy, all of them, they can speak on that mic.
What's going on with each character, what the motives and feelings of the main players are, their trials and tribulations, and while you know what's going on in the grand scheme of things, the characters involved are oblivious to the gaslighting or undermining tactics that are being used against them. They don't know that the people they consider to be helping them are actually screwing them over, and that those that they think are trying to mess with them are actually the good ones that cared about them all along. A good story will have great protagonists and antagonists and will effectively use different characters throughout, and that story will carefully put those characters in situations of conflict, high stakes, and surprise, while also telling you their backstory. The story of the Bloodline is just like that, a dysfunction.
I'm not gonna be pausing a lot, but hold on, bro. I gotta, like, it's like everybody knew something was up. Everybody, like, if you look at this picture, look, like, bro, look at Roman. Bro, Roman, look at, like, everybody already knew something was gonna be up. So when Sammy hit him in the, bro, when Sammy hit Roman in the back, and it just took everybody back to when Seth turned on Roman. It's just so, bro, WWE, y'all doing great. Y'all doing great with this storyline.
Also telling you their backstory. The story of the Bloodline is just like that. A dysfunctional family, a tyrannical ruler, and the arc of multiple different characters, each with a different backstory. From the three brothers in the group all the way up to the manager. Right now, there are some in the wrestling world hailing this as the greatest story ever told in WWE. Whether it is or not, that's up to you. However, what's been fun about this story is the different ways it's been interpreted. A 3-year ride.
I feel like the only better story, I'm sorry, I keep saying I'm not gonna pause, but I think I'm gonna let y'all vibe. But I feel like the only, like, other story to me, y'all can leave down in the comments what story y'all think is better than this or is like almost there. To me, the only story for me would be Shawn Michaels and Triple H, like them getting together, DX, them feuding, then to, like, you know, just like to me like that was like a story that was like years in the making. Like they didn't just break out and feud like quick. It, like, I don't know. Again, that's just me.
Filled with ups and downs, and two of the most pivotal people in this story are the twin brothers, Jimmy and Jey Uso, guys who have been with each other every step of the way. I already covered Jay's whole arc in a separate video, but this dude has been consistently gaslit as he's got the mentality of a kid who just doesn't know any better. He's weak mentally, and that's constantly used to his detriment. He's torn between two sides, the side he truly knows is the right one in his heart of hearts, opposing the tribal chief, and the side he's been forced to believe he loves, siding with the tribal chief. Having been used, abused, and tormented, being told that he's the one at fault for challenging Roman's status. He just wants peace and for everybody to get along. He's the most innocent and lovable one in this entire story. At the very beginning, it was him who wanted to suppress the egomaniac that he knew that Roman would eventually become. All his life, he's been held on a pedestal, and Jay just wanted that same spotlight for once. But when he was on the verge of supremacy, nah, back down you go. Now it's his brother who's finally realizing that what Jay told him was the wrong thing to do. When Jimmy returned from injury, he had pushed back against Roman before eventually joining the group, realizing that there was no point in arguing with Roman, manipulated in a very similar way. After 2 years, Jimmy eventually kicked Roman in the face at Night of Champions with the super kick heard around the world. But in that brief moment, Jay's older brother told him that he's doing what he should have done long ago. Knowing how sweet his younger brother is and finally realizing that his innocence was exposed. Originally, Jimmy knew, just like Jay, that they couldn't let Roman continue his tear, but he bought in. When it comes to the bond of these two brothers, they're integral in the story as they're the constant two who are together, always berated and chastised for their wrongdoings, but they're the two that will eventually prove that blood can't be beaten. The twin brothers were emotionally exposed and bullied into joining the Bloodline, having their innocence used to someone else's advantage. And then we have the third brother, Solo Sikoa, the silent killer, the one who since day one has had—
No, bruh. When Solo, hopefully Solo turns before WrestleMania. Like, WrestleMania's next year. Please let Solo turn before that. And like, bro, when Solo hits a Roman with that mother, the pop is gonna be crazy.
Had his allegiance to the tribal chief and nothing else. Barely, if ever, has Solo faltered, and when he has, Roman has been scared to punish him. He was the reason why Roman retained at WrestleMania. He was the reason why Roman retained at Clash at the Castle when the other two couldn't attend the show. He was brought in when Roman started to see that the Usos just weren't enough. The role Solo plays is enforcer. He's aimlessly on Roman's side. When a job needs to be handled, it's not the ones who have been with Roman from the start that he looks to, but the one he knows will sink to any measure necessary to get the win, something that the Usos won't do. The youngest of 3 siblings doesn't stray away from altercation. He's silent, only ever speaking when he's required to. What makes Solo such a threat in this story is Roman's aspect. He knows that with the twins, it's not a guaranteed key to victory, but with Solo, it is. So in turn, he and Paul Heyman keep him happy to feed their own future. We were told that the elders sent Solo, and out of all the characters in this story, we know the least about him. He's never shown defiance to the tribal chief, but now even he's telling Roman that he may be the tribal chief and he acknowledges him, but the other two are his brothers. 2 men he grew up with. On NXT, we were told that Jimmy and Jay left for WWE while he was a loner cast aside, continuing to fight on his own. When he eventually hit Jimmy with a Samoan spike, Jimmy kept referencing brotherhood. Well, maybe what led Solo to turn on his own brother was that he was never brought along with them, and instead it was Roman who, in his eyes, gave him a chance, so his allegiance lies with him. He's the least fleshed out character in this entire story, but the one thing we know is he marches to the beat of his own drum. Those are the brothers, but what about the ones who aren't family? Well, that's where Sami Zayn comes in. Someone who became one of the most pivotal parts of this entire story. I talked about effectively using characters at the top, and Sami at the crux of things was a comedy character. He eventually became a voice for change in the group, someone who himself was lost and thought he needed to join a family to be accepted. He thought that he was being saved by the family and the validation of WWE's biggest star, when in reality it was him who came in to throw a curveball into a plan that had been going very smoothly for Roman. Even though he's not actual blood, Sami not only became an honorary Us, but a brother, and once all the dust had settled, he was the one who was loved the most by Jey Uso, the same guy who refused to let him in. When he eventually did, Sami helped expose the cracks when Jey told everyone his true feelings that he doesn't care what the tribal chief says. What ended up happening was Sami then had to make a choice, seeing that aligning with Roman didn't mean anything for him. We're talking about a family story here, and the guy on the other end was a man he considers his brother, Kevin Owens, and when that reality set in, he had no choice but to do what the others couldn't, and that was stand up to Roman.
They were dogging Kevin Owens. Oh, this is Royal Rumble. I forgot what pay-per-view this was, but they were they hit him with super kicks after super kicks after super kicks after. They were dogging him, and then when Roman handed Sammy the thing and said, "You finish him." Oh my God! Everybody just knew what time it was. They knew this is the time. Oh my God! And then when Jay looked at him, I don't know. I think it was Jimmy who hit him with the super kick, and then Solo hit him with the Samoan spike, and then Jay just got out the ring. I think it was Jay. He just got out the ring. It's like, oh my gosh.
He got his championship match at Elimination Chamber where that same man humiliated him in front of his friends and family. His intentions throughout the whole Bloodline story have remained pure. Though he may have been brainwashed for a brief period, he's arguably played the most important part, setting multiple things in motion.
I don't remember that. Oh, I didn't see that. It was on SmackDown. He just hit him with a spear.
Sammy's arc wasn't to become the guy to dethrone the tribal chief. His arc was to be the first crack in the bloodline, because if there was no one who came from the outside, the bloodline wouldn't see what's going on inside. Notice how once he won the tag titles with Kevin Owens, this whole thing started to unravel exponentially, so his end goal was tag team champion, to take away that symbolism of dominance from Jimmy and Jay. And once that symbolism was gone, it put the status of the two in question. Sammy making the group lose something to gain clarity. And what they've continued to do is have Sammy be a constant, constantly telling Jay that he's a good person and can do better. They haven't forgotten the pivotal role that Sammy will continue to play in this story. When Jay finally sees the light, it'll be Sammy who opens him up to this, not his brother. His brother was just a bystander, a pawn in Roman's game. One character in this story that almost never gets his due is the on-screen manager Paul Heyman, the one who reports to the head of the table, but he understands that Roman's run only goes as far as Solo and the Usos will take him, and so he knows, being a sleazeball himself, the game that Roman is playing, having known him and his family for so long. In turn, he continues to gaslight Jay as he was the loyal one from basically the beginning. Jimmy is now out of the bloodline, so Paul knows that he's got to keep the rest of the band together. If not, it won't just mean trouble for the tribal chief, but for him as well. For him, it means he can't be at the top, which is what Heyman's done his entire career. He's always clinged on to anything that'll keep him there. For the longest time, that was Brock Lesnar. But what happened when he wasn't there anymore? Paul on SmackDown said that Roman was all he had and that he rescued him. Paul is also the king of identifying weaknesses to Roman's bloodline. Take for example the tribal court segment. When Sami Zayn was put on trial, it was Paul Heyman who was trying his hardest to present evidence against Sami Zayn, because he was able to sniff out Zayn's strength, and that pride would eventually cause him to make a decision that the rest of the bloodline wouldn't dare to make. He in his role continues to make the most vulnerable member, that being Jey Uso, believe lies. Heyman is a continuation of Roman in a managerial role. He's a conniving, ruthless wise man who will do anything to remain at the top and cling on to anyone who will keep him at the pinnacle of professional wrestling. Another master manipulator, and when two minds of manipulation align, the only thing that can stop them is themselves. We saw a brief wrinkle when Roman feuded with Brock in 2021 and where his allegiance lied. However, later on, the final domino to fall in this entire arc, personally, I think should be the first one to stick. And that's Paul Heyman. It was his allegiance that started this whole thing. Maybe it's him who finally leaves and this whole thing comes to an end. And of course, how could forget Roman Reigns, the main antagonist in this story. Everyone sees him as the bad guy because he's manipulative, but what's cool is it can be interpreted as him being the good guy, as strange as that sounds. After all those years where he was loathed by the audience, he was finally fed up and now is doing everything possible to spite them, to show them who
he was a loser. He was a loser. Roman was a loser. They had my boy looking crazy out there.
Who he really is. That they turned a good guy here for the fans into a villain only here for himself. In Roman's big dog era, he did everything that was asked of him and never got the recognition that he felt he deserved. So tired of trying over and over, his 1,000 plus day reign is in spite of his detractors. You could argue that that's where acknowledge me comes from a place of anger and wanting that respect, so he had no choice but to change his approach and make those same people into believers. And no matter who he needs to manipulate, no matter who he needs to undercut, he has a personal vendetta, not only against his family, but against the fans. What's cool about this story is he doesn't know he's the bad guy. He thinks he's doing a service to the Samoan dynasty when in reality, it's all a play for his own game. You guys remember 2 weeks before WrestleMania, Cody and Roman had a promo, and in it, Cody said that every one of Roman's bloodline members will leave him. Jay leaves him, Jimmy leaves him, then Solo leaves him, and when Solo leaves him, Paul Heyman becomes an advocate again. Whenever Roman thinks of the possibility that his family will leave him and he'll no longer have that blanket of protection, the realization slowly sets in on his face, and you can see that on WWE programming. He on the inside knows that it's true, that without them, he doesn't have that ticket to the top anymore. Roman is the puppet master in this entire story, crying, force feeding, and manipulating everyone around him. He's had a descent into darkness. He's not evil for the sake of evil. He's evil because he never wanted to be there in the first place, collecting accolades and championships to become the one of all ones. Roman, through his time at the top, has dominated everyone, but it would almost be poetic if his downfall came down to the one thing he's not worried about, and that's his family. The same family that he's tormented time and time again with next to no pushback. The family is a wall of protection, the same protection that when it looked like Roman was going to meet his demise at WrestleMania 39, saved him. On that same night, all the characters in the story came into the match and it seemed like the perfect ending. Sami hitting Roman, KO hitting Roman, and then Cody delivering the winning shot, but it didn't happen. Thanks to Solo, Roman retained. Do I think that Cody should have won at WrestleMania? Yes, but my personal feelings aside, Cody's another variable that could play into this story. The whole adversity thing has become such a joke, but maybe that's a side quest within the whole blood.
Cody's in a good spot right now. Cody's in a good spot. He's doing a little feud with Brock right now. Do I think Cody should have been won at WrestleMania 39? Of course. I don't know why they had him lose, but at the same time, I kind of see why they had him lose. Cause let's be honest. No, it can work both ways. Cause I was gonna say, let's be honest. If Cody have beaten Roman has no titles, and then they could have spun it to like, okay, you don't have no titles either, so why are we still listening to you? And then they started to split like that. But I feel like since Roman still has a title, so Roman still has something to lose, and he still has something to like, oh damn, if they leave me, who gonna save me? So now I guess it makes it a little bit more better, but they need to have Cody win the championship off of Roman. I don't want nobody else beating Roman and then Cody beats them. No, it needs to be Roman, bro. So I don't want them to drag it out all the way to WrestleMania 41 either. That's stupid. He should have I don't know. SummerSlam. I don't know how. I think Cody's doing the kayfabe injury with the arm, but I don't know how. But SummerSlam. That's all I gotta say.
Bloodline story overall. Maybe what Cody said reigns true. The entirety of the bloodline leaves Roman, only for Cody to finally win a year after he was supposed to, proving that Roman can't do it on his own. Once they all leave Roman, the true exposure comes when he loses his ironclad grip on the championship, the only thing he cares about, in turn, proving Cody right. Remember in that promo? A man without a family, a Roman with no more reigns, a chief without a tribe. When he said that back in May, Roman had nothing to say because he knew Cody's words were true. The realization set in, his empire would come crumbling down. What if finishing the story means finishing the story of the bloodline, ending their rule once and for all, and in turn, starting Cody's story and proving him right? This entire video has just been me looking way too deep into this, but that's what makes it fun. It's a TV show after all. It's one overarching story, and that's what makes it worth watching. I haven't seen something like this from the WWE. What the story has shown us, aside from all the different character arcs, the big time matches, and the slow and steady decline of the faction, is the importance of layered storytelling. building conflict, and then during a big moment, pulling the trigger. Actions having consequences, everyone having a different story. The WWE for the longest time did not reward you for being a viewer, did not tell a story that continued to gauge interest. Things changed week to week, storylines were dropped, and the WWE is still not perfect by any means at all. But this story at least gives you a reason to tune in and rewards you for being a fan. Was I a little worried after WrestleMania? Absolutely. For about a month, this storyline went nowhere. Roman was absent. Every Raw and SmackDown seemed to end with Solo Sikoa versus either Zayn, Owens, or Matt Riddle, and there's been lulls in this story. Let's not act like it's all gone perfectly. It hasn't, but it's been fun to keep tabs on. A story full of lies, conflict, false promises, and so many elements coming in and out, from the characters to their backstories. You saw the chapter of formation, you saw the chapter of dominance, you saw Sammy's arc. Right now we're in Jimmy's. They're slowly tearing down everything that's been built. There's so many more layers and theories and background to this story, but I tried not to get too deep into it. We'll cross that bridge once the story is over. But before I end things, I want to ask you guys, what do you guys think of this story? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you just want Roman's reign to be over with? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed this dive into all the different character arcs going on. Take care.
Hey, this is a great video. Let me leave it alone. Hey, y'all, Super Kick Studios is the channel. I'm gonna leave the original link down below. Me personally, I feel like, see, look, I feel like they should milk it until it can't be milked no more. But don't over milk it, if that makes sense. Like, if it's time for Roman to lose his stuff, let him lose it. Don't try to drag it out like on some Dragon Ball Z shit. Don't find out next time on the next SmackDown. No, don't do that. But I feel, me personally, I feel like they should, so look, this would be perfect if everybody leaves Roman, and then going up to WrestleMania, you just see Roman's face and see his demeanor. He's just on edge. He's on edge because everybody has left him. Besides Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman can't fight. He's a loser. Now, like everybody's on edge. I mean, Roman's on edge. He's just like, damn. If I get caught in a situation, who's gonna help me? Who gonna help me? But y'all leave down in the comments what y'all think. Y'all leave down in the comments what other wrestling videos y'all want me to check out, because I'm checking out some wrestling videos. And also I'm gonna start streaming on YouTube, but I stream on Twitch also. First I'm gonna stream it to my Twitch. And with that being said, I'll catch up on the next video. Keep God in your life. Dinas for L. Peace.